100 million people use ChatGPT every week, and a big chunk of them are now asking it the exact questions your customers used to type into Google, right? Someone asked ChatGPT for the best company to solve their problem, and it just names 3 to 5. Your competitor is one of them, you're not. And here's the part that catches people out. The way you win in ChatGPT is its own thing. It runs on a completely different set of signals, so the Google playbook just doesn't copy across. So today, I'm going to show you the 6 things that decide whether ChatGPT names your brand, and a couple of them are the opposite of everything you've been told about Google. And here's the good news. None of this is a mystery once you know what ChatGPT is actually reading. You can be a small brand and still get named, and I'll show you how. So there's 6 ways to get your brand to show up in ChatGPT. Let's go through them one at a time. So who am I to walk you through this? I'm the founder and CEO of Primal, Mark McDowell. And we've spent years getting brands like Decathlon, McDonald's, and Under Armour found in search, and now in AI. A fast-growing slice of that is getting brands named inside ChatGPT's answers. And one of these, number 4, is the off-Google signal that most marketing leaders are completely missing right now. So number 1, before ChatGPT can name you, it's got to be able to find you. And so the first thing it does when someone asks it a question is run its own search in the background, mostly on Bing's index of the web, plus a little bit of Google. So let me explain. An index is just a giant list of web pages that the search engine knows about, and if your page isn't in that list, then you don't exist as far as ChatGPT is concerned. You can't be the answer to a question if the machine can't even see you. So why does this matter so much? Well, a lot of brands obsess over Google and they never check whether Bing can even see their site. ChatGPT leans on Bing first, so if you're invisible there, the rest of this video doesn't help you. So let's say you've got a solid site, but you've never thought about Bing once, and that's the most common gap I see. You get your site verified in Bing Webmaster Tools, you make sure your reported pages are indexed, and you fix anything that's blocking the crawlers, which are just the little programs search engines send out to read your pages. We had a self-storage company that was barely showing up, so we got the foundations right and got them properly findable and indexed, especially on Bing, and their organic goal completions went up by over 200%. That's what being findable does before any of the clever stuff. So if you're asking, where do I even start? You start by making sure the machine can see you. So number 2, why does ChatGPT name one company and ignore the one sitting right next to it? Well, it comes down to how high your page ranks inside ChatGPT's own background search. So here's how that works. When you ask ChatGPT a question, it doesn't just run one search, it quietly breaks your question into a handful of smaller ones. It searches for each and then it ranks all the pages it finds. And the page sitting at the top of that internal ranking gets cited about 58% of the time. And cited just means ChatGPT names it and links to it in the answer. But by the time you're 10th on that list, it's dropped to around 14%. So your position in that hidden ranking is the single biggest factor in whether you get named from what we've seen. So how do you climb it? Well, you make a specific page that directly and completely answers one specific question. You don't make one vague page that sort of touches on everything, and here's why. ChatGPT breaks the question into smaller pieces so that you want a page that's built to win on each piece of it. So let's say that you run a hotel group that's leaning hard on paid ads. We had a hospitality client in exactly that same spot, spending heavily just to stay visible. We built out content that directly answered the real questions across their properties, and they got over 100 times their return on that SEO spend year on year. The pages that directly answered the real questions are the ones that climbed and got cited by ChatGPT. So the question of why them and not me, that's your answer, right? They ranked higher inside of ChatGPT's own search. So number 3, what does a page that ChatGPT loves to quote actually look like? Well, it's structured so that the answer is really easy to lift straight out. And the data on this is pretty clear. Pages with headings that closely match the question someone's asking got quoted about 41% of the time. And pages with weak, vague headings sit down around 29%. So the heading is doing a lot of the work here. And the sweet spot is a focus page, roughly 500 to 2,000 words, broken up with 4 to 10 clear subheadings, with lists and tables where they fit. So why does that work? Well, ChatGPT is lifting a clean, self-contained answer out of your page. And if that answer is wrapped in a clear heading that mirrors the question, then it's easy to grab. But if it's buried in a wall of text, it just gets skipped for a competitor who made it easy. So if you're wondering how ChatGPT picks the actual words it uses, that's how, right? You make the answer easy to lift. So number 4. So here's the off-Google signal that almost everyone misses. ChatGPT doesn't just read your website, it heavily trusts a small handful of other places, and it weights them way more than people expect. So let me show you where. Wikipedia and Reddit are the 2 most cited sources in ChatGPT by a huge margin. And here's why ChatGPT leans on them so hard. They're big, they're written by real people, and they get updated all the time. So ChatGPT treats them like a reliable place to check what people actually say about a brand. And for business-to-business brands, Business to business just means companies that sell to other companies. LinkedIn has search, showing up in over 14% of ChatGPT's search answers, and it leans towards posts from individual people. It doesn't lean towards posts from company pages. So when your brand and the people behind it are part of those conversations, ChatGPT reads that as proof you're real and worth naming. Now, here's where Google and ChatGPT really split. On Google, being talked about all over YouTube is one of the strongest signals you can have. But on ChatGPT, YouTube barely registers because it hardly reads video. So don't copy your Google playbook here. The places that move ChatGPT are Reddit, Wikipedia, and for B2B, LinkedIn. So how do you earn it? Well, you get genuinely active and useful in relevant Reddit communities. You make sure your brand has a clean, accurate Wikipedia presence if it qualifies. And you get your people consistently posting real expertise on LinkedIn. And across our whole client portfolio, the brands that get named in AI are almost the ones showing up in these offsite conversations, not just the ones with a nice website. So if you're asking what moves ChatGPT that has nothing to do with my own site, well, that's it. You show up where it already trusts. So number 5, a high domain authority score barely helps you in ChatGPT, and it might even work against you. And I know that's going to annoy the SEO crowd, but the data is the data. So let me explain. Domain authority is a score out of 100 for how your website looks, based mostly on how other websites link to you. And those incoming links are what people call backlinks. And for classic Google SEO, a big score really helps you. But when you measure it against actual ChatGPT citations, that connection basically disappears. The pages ChatGPT names most often tend to have slightly lower domain authority and far fewer backlinks than the page it never names. ChatGPT is judging your one specific page against the question, not the size of your overall domain. So why does that matter to you? Well, it means a small, focused brand can beat a giant. You don't need the biggest site or the most backlinks. You need the most relevant, best structured answer to the specific question. So if you've been holding back because you think you're too small to compete, drop that. In ChatGPT, the small sharp page wins. So number 6, how fresh does your content need to be for ChatGPT? Well, fresher than you think. And this is another spot where it's different to Google. So here's the thing. ChatGPT has freshness built into it. So basically, how it ranks pages, it actively prefers recent content, and the sweet spot for a page being cited sits at roughly 30 to 90 days old. Content that's more than a couple of years old never gets touched and tends to fade out. And that's very different to Google's AI, which often leans on older established pages. So why does ChatGPT do this? Well, it's trying to give people current answers, and a page that was updated last month reads as more reliable than one that's sat untouched for years. So recency is generally a ranking factor here, right? And it really matters a lot. So what do you do with that? Well, you keep your important pages alive. You revisit your key answers every couple months. You update them with anything new, and you genuinely improve them. You don't just change the date and leave the rest. We had a pharmaceutical brand move from offline first to building a real online presence. And by consistently publishing and maintaining fresh, useful content, we grew their organic clicks over 202% in 3 months. Fresh, maintained content is what keeps you in the answer. So if you're wondering whether you can write a page once and forget it, for ChatGPT, you can't do that. You keep it current. So that's 6. Let me bring everything together. So to get your brand to show up in ChatGPT, number 1, make sure you're findable, especially on Bing. Number 2, build specific pages that climb ChatGPT's own internal ranking. Number 3, structure your page with clear question match headings so the answer is easy to lift. Number 4, show up in where ChatGPT already trusts. So that's Reddit, Wikipedia, and LinkedIn for B2B. Number 5, stop hiding behind your domain authority score because the small sharp page wins. And number 6, keep your content fresh because ChatGPT generally prefers recent content. And remember, this is a different game from Google. So of what wins, you Google AI overviews, and Gemini just won't move ChatGPT. So treat it as its own thing. So if you want to know exactly where you're invisible in ChatGPT right now, our AI audit team will run you through it and show you at least 7 revenue opportunities you're missing. It's free. Links in the description. Hope that helps. Thanks for watching.